Change isn't just coming, it's already here. This is Ask for Change podcast, hosted by leadership expert Meridith Powell, brings you weekly conversations with leaders and experts who are redefining success in a world of disruption. Let's begin today's journey and turn uncertainty into your competitive advantage.
Let's turn uncertainty into your greatest competitive advantage. Welcome to Ask for Change. I'm your host, Meridith Powell, and I got to tell you, my guest today is a powerhouse. He has built his entire career around the part of sales most people dread the most, and that's prospecting. Jason Bay is the co-founder and chief revenue officer of Blissful Prospecting. Don't you just love the name? I mean, he helps people like us, B2B sales reps and teams, build predictable pipelines. And I got to tell you, in the face of uncertainty, that is probably one of the most difficult things to do right now, because you take the stress, the guesswork, and even the fear out of the cold call. And you've been at this since 2008. You've personally closed millions in revenue. I want you to welcome Jason Bay to Ask for Change. Welcome, Jason.
What's going on? We've actually changed our business name. It's Outbound Squad now is the name of our company. But it's been years, Meredith, since we've caught up. I think it's been like 4 years actually. So it's good to see you. You still have like the awesome like background too.
I never, everybody went to virtual backgrounds and all these types of things. And I got so many comments on this log cabin that I've just kept it. I also
so cool.
feel like it's very in line with my brand. So let's kind of dive in. First of all, I'm really curious. It's been a while since we've talked.
Mm-hmm.
What's changed? What have you been up to besides changing the name of the company since then?
Yeah. A couple things. One of the really big things that I have been thinking about a lot since the last time we talked, one, I was a one-man show back then. So I was doing all of the delivery. We had started out as a business that would do essentially like we were an outsourced SDR. We would do appointment setting.
Yeah.
My wife and I started the business. We had a bunch of virtual assistants. We would do LinkedIn campaigns, email campaigns. And this was back in 2016 where you could do a mass email campaign and like book a ton of meetings for someone. And in 2020, we started to shift more towards like training companies. So instead of doing this for them, let's work with, our first big client that we worked with was Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And, their account executives, they wanted them to self-source more pipeline and rely less on marketing and BDR and SDR support. So we really started to gravitate and move more into training. So since then, the biggest thing we've been focused on is, how do we make this as simple as possible for a rep to execute on? The big thing that's happened in the last year and a half is the advent of AI. So it's been both a pro and a con. I think that for outbound, it's actually been really bad. I think it's done more bad than it's done good. Anyone with a click of a button and a Claude account or whatever AI solution that you're using can send out thousands of like decently personalized emails. Are they great? No, but they're better than what most reps send.
Mm-hmm.
And noise is noise, right? It doesn't matter if a buyer has 1,000 emails that you would send to them, right?
Yeah.
That like are super, it doesn't matter. It's volume, it's noise. So it's made it incredibly hard to get the attention in the inbox. The average reply rate's about 1%. People are not picking up their phones as much. That's a statistic that has gone down and down every single year. The average pickup rate's around 3.5%. And then you have LinkedIn and people doing all the stuff that they do on LinkedIn. So it's made it very hard to capture the attention in the digital platforms. And I've seen a really big resurgence of in-person drop-bys, thinking about events, dinners, like things that you can do where you can rub shoulders in person with your buyers. But you just got to be a lot better these days to make outbound work.
I'm curious from your perspective. I think building pipeline, it's always a challenge, but then you look at places like we're in right now. And I've been around a long time. So I remember when we used to have 4 to 5 times the pipeline in it. Most of my career, I've run 2 to 3 times my pipeline, what I needed to close a month, as long as I had 2 to 3 in. Right now, I'm probably at about 5 to 6 in my pipeline in order to close what I need, in order to close what I need to close. What are you seeing with the biggest challenges that people are having with building pipeline? And what are your suggestions to help them build better pipelines in today's marketplace?
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest things, and this is what we've spent a lot of time on in the last, honestly, year or so, is there's all of these sales methodologies out there, right? There's everything from like, Sandler and Challenger. There's like the qualification frameworks like MEDDIC, MEDPIC. There's value selling. There's all of these things, right? And organizations, CRO on down, are willing to engage in deals and do deal reviews and pipeline reviews. Yet when you look at pipe gen, what do they do about pipe gen? They say, Meridith, here's a talk track, a script, and here's a sequence that we set up for you. Like, good luck, go ham.
Yeah.
There's like no strategy really at all outside of that. So that's a really big problem. The way that we suggest tackling this, so we have a 3-part methodology. It's called Too Good to Ignore. So the whole thesis behind this is that we've analyzed actually a lot of the data with Gong around cold calling and emailing. And what we found, that the short of that is that a top 25% performer, a rep, will book about 4.5 times the amount of meetings of an average performer. So it's really like, what are they doing? And there's 3 kind of pillars. It's disqualify, offer, and provoke. So the disqualify pillar, what these top reps do, and we've worked with about 250 sales teams, 20,000 plus reps in the last 6 years. And the top performers, the way that they think about their time is more like the owner of a business. So that disqualify pillar, what you really need to do is a really tight ideal client profile analysis of where are we winning right now? Where are the sales cycles the shortest? Where do we win the biggest deals? Like, which ones are the easiest to close, et cetera. And there's like industries and like sub niches of those industries typically that are really big. You can look at triggers and things going on in those companies. But with AI, it makes this stuff really easy. You don't need like a revenue ops team to like spend weeks analyzing this. Like, you can literally figure this out in 30 minutes. You need to be able to give your sales team guidance on where they should not be spending time. And there's an 80% of companies in their book of business they shouldn't be doing outbound with. So that's step number 1. Do you want me to just kind of go high level across those 3, or do you want to dig into each of them?
Let's dig into
Sure.
each of them, because I think that is I think it is one of the biggest challenges people face, is understanding that the moment that you say yes to a prospect, you just said no to another prospect. And I think it's innate in salespeople. Sometimes we get so turned on, the more difficult or more impossible it is to close, right? The more doubtful that it will ever close, the more interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, in like your 3-step methodology, is that the foundation? Is that like the first step you need to take?
Yeah, that's the very first thing. There's this saying that the list is the strategy. So like the way that you tackle your book of business and how you sort it and all of that stuff, like that is the strategy. That's the very first thing that you have to do. As an organization, you should be providing this guidance to your reps. And as a rep, if you're listening to this, you should be thinking about not what is my ideal client profile in terms of like the industries that are listed on my website, but like really when we do a closed won and closed lost analysis, even for you and your personal book of business, like where do you win the most?
Yeah.
And then how can I just apply that lookalike filtering and criteria and allow my past successes to inform my future efforts? Like that's step number 1.
Yeah, it makes a whole lot of sense. Okay, step number 2.
So step number 2 is the offer. So there's a bunch of really interesting data if you think about like the buying environment right now, and I'll just kind of list out a few things that are pretty interesting. I mean, one of them that's pretty compelling. There's 2 of them. 53% of B2B buyers experience buyer's remorse. This is a stat from Gartner. So in other words, at the end of a 12-month contract, they pulled these B2B executives, and over half of them said, "Dude, we shouldn't have bought that."
Wow.
Like that did not produce the ROI. McKinsey's got a stat that 7 out of 10 change management initiatives fail. And really where I'm kind of going with this is like, dude, the buyer has already been jaded before. They've already bought something like yours and it has not worked out before. And what that's created is an extreme reluctance, especially with the macroeconomic conditions just being like this. it's created this extreme reluctance around like taking meetings with like new solutions and checking out new vendors and things like that. The other stat that's really important to know, Gong did a study of B2B executives, and 91% of them said that the people that sold to them, they feel like just didn't really understand them, their role, their business, etc. So where I'm going with this is that the whole, let me send an email to someone and say, can I get 15 minutes of your time? Or in software land, can I show you a demo? That just doesn't work anymore. Like people are not in buying mode right now, and you're not giving anything of value to that buyer. So you really got to think about the acid test is like, what would this buyer learn from this initial 30-minute meeting with me that would be valuable to them, even if they decided not to buy our products or services? So there's 3 types of offers, and I'll give you guys some really concrete examples of them.
Okay, great.
So I just like a good, better, best kind of thing. So a good offer is what I call selling the blind date. So selling the blind date is, let's say I'm an appointment setter, and in tech, they have a lot of sales development reps, right? They have these SDR teams whose only job is to make calls, send emails, and set appointments for someone to close them. So if you were my account executive, Meredith, I could say, hey, I want to put you in touch with Meredith. She has decades of experience working with other manufacturers like X, Y, and Z, and she can talk you through the welder shortage that's going on with them right now. And then also hopefully identify some parts that you might be trying to weld right now that are really hard to automate. So you're going to get a ton of value from that call. So I'm like selling the blind date. This person I'm talking to has not met you before, and I want to like really pitch your experience. You can do that for yourself also. Oh, hey, by the way, I've been working with a lot of great customers like X, Y, and Z, and I really want to make sure to share some of the insights around, if I sell an HR solution, around how they're reducing time to hire, making sure that the retention sticks, and how they thought about their international hiring strategy like you guys are for the first time. So that's the first type of offer. Anyone listening to this can do that like immediately. Just like pitch the expertise of the person they're going to be meeting with. The second and third ones are very similar. So the better and best, this has to do with like a packaged insight. One of them is like a one-to-many insight. So you can like repurpose the same insight and sell it. And when I say sell that insight, like sell them hopping on a call with you to dig into it. Another example is I worked with a company that sells to e-com businesses, and their marketing department, what they did is they mystery shopped 300 e-com businesses. And they found out how long it would take for them to respond. Do they have channels via text, email, phone, social, et cetera, where customers can interact? And what they would do on these cold calls is they would say, hey, Meredith, it's Jason with so-and-so. I was on the Patagonia site. We actually mystery shopped you in North Face and Columbia. We found that your response time is actually the slowest of those 3. Do you got a minute for me to share the reason for my call and why I was reaching out to you? And I'd listened to these call recordings that these reps do, and every single prospect was like, they're almost angry, honestly. They're like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Oh, hey, our marketing team mystery shopped, a bunch of these companies. We actually did a full comprehensive analysis. I'd like to walk you through it so you can see where some of your gaps might be and where you could create some competitive differentiation. It's like, the way I think of the offer is like, how can you make the buyer feel you're responsible for not taking a meeting with you?
Yeah, great way. Such a great phrase.
Yeah. So last but not least is a custom offer. So if we're doing good, better, best, this is the best. Not everyone can do this. But if you have something that you can do to show the buyer the problem, let's say that you're a marketing agency or an SEO agency, like you can literally like record a video of you going through and analyzing like their shopping cart experience, their web experience, where they show up compared to like their competitors. Like you can do these little short like things that are actually extremely high value to the person you're reaching out to. So if you're willing to do this stuff, and I think it makes the most sense for someone that's selling a mid-market or higher solution, like if you're selling something that costs more than like $20,000, like it makes sense for you to do this type of offer. The last thing I'll say on this is like, if you really think about this, like if your solution is down here, the like features and functions of what your solution does, if you go a layer up into like the business value that it creates, so that's impact on revenue, profit, risk reduction, efficiency, et cetera. If you can like really bridge the gap between those two with the insight, So like, in other words, the insight is not like anything involving your solution. It's really like if you can show them how to think a little bit differently about the problems they might be having that are getting in the way of those business outcomes, like that is the thing that you want to show them.
Yeah.
That is the thing that you want to share with them.
And I even think like you could definitely do that even on an offer that is even on a product and service that isn't even very expensive. Like I love what you're saying because I think it's important for all of us to think about why would somebody give you their time? I mean, people think that I just read that somebody had in their email they said don't ghost people, it's bad for humanity, and I just thought people don't ghost you because they're rude, they ghost you because they're just so freaking busy. And it's like
Yeah.
if I had all the time in the world, I would call Jason back, but I don't have that kind of time. And I'm going to be lucky to get the things done I need to get done today. So
Yeah.
so you have to think about the fact that I always say a sales call is a privilege, and you need to think about you're taking
Yes.
something very precious, and that is somebody's time. Why would they invest it in you?
Yes. Yeah. One quick comment on that is like, I'm a really big fan of Jocko Willink's extreme ownership. Dude, take
Yeah,
some freaking ownership. Really, you're
yeah,
going to blame it on the buyer for ghosting you? Like, you got to look internal and say, like, what am I
right,
doing that is making people feel like it's not worth their time to spend it with me?
right, right. Exactly, exactly. All right, so the last one, and I think the most tantalizing, is provoke.
Yeah. So provoke is like, hey, I know who I want to reach out to because I've disqualified. I have a great offer. The provoke is like the message. Like, how am I going to talk to them? This is the thing that we've spent a lot of time on. We used to teach like a phone framework. Like, hey, if you're going to call someone, here's the framework that you would use. And then we would teach an email framework and then a sequencing framework and then a social selling framework. And it was like too many frameworks to memorize.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
So what we were trying to do is think about like, well, what are the core components of a great outbound message? And what we landed on is what we call the three T's. It's trigger, tension, trust. Every message needs to have a trigger, which answers the why now question. So why
Right.
should I engage with you right now? So what's going on in your business? If I sell HR, it might be I saw that they're hiring internationally for the first time and they're based in the US. Tension. That is the problem I think that you might be having. Hey, not sure if you're running into this, but oftentimes when hiring internationally for the first time, the teams get so overburdened with like admin work that it actually interrupts the hiring plan and they're not able to hire fast enough. Trust, that's the third T. This is the social proof.
Yeah.
We recently helped another staffing firm in Seattle with this and helped reduce their time to hire by 30% or whatever, cut it in half. So trigger, tension, trust. The reason why this stuff is so important is like when we have a trigger, it will, according to Gong and firsthand with clients, it will up to 5x your reply rate. Tension, problems, when we look at cold calls and all of the analysis on that, using problem-based language will have 3 times the effectiveness of booking a meeting than solution-based or feature-focused language. We look at trust and social proof. Emails have a 41% higher reply rate in the study that we did with Gong when we introduced social proof and talk about a similar company that we've helped. So
Yeah.
that's the framework, right? That's how I would do the cold call. That's the same structure for the email, trigger, tension, trust. It's the same thing that I would leave a voicemail with. It's the same thing I would use in a LinkedIn message. There's all kinds of ways across those channels to really kind of like tailor based on that channel or pick certain parts of this that you might use. But that's the provoke piece.
So let me ask you this: where, if anywhere, when you're working with people and they're building a prospect list, where, if anywhere, does it fit about building reputation in the marketplace? And does that matter? Is there any piece of that you're trying to aim at?
Yeah. I think one of the most overlooked things is like when you're iHeartMedia, for example, like a rep calling and saying, I'm so and so from iHeartMedia versus I'm so and so from some company you've never heard of before, it carries a ton of weight.
Yeah.
So, so I think like the marketing and reputation building, like it starts at the company level, right? Like that's really big. And as a rep or a leader, I'm being conscious of that. Like, what game do I want to play? It's okay if I want to work for a company someone's like not heard of before, and I'm like a startup and like I'm
Yeah.
building up that reputation, but just know what you're in for. Like, you got to be way better. You got to
Yeah.
be way better. Reputation building on the rep side of things. I was just talking to a company today that sells a retail point of sale solution that's in a lot of restaurants. And one of the things that their initiatives is like they tell every rep, you should be the mayor of the towns that you sell into.
Mm.
So the idea there is that like, hey, you should network and stuff with the banks, and you should show up to these local events and all this kind of stuff, so that when a point of sale solution is needed, or when someone comes in for a loan for a restaurant they're opening, like they refer you.
Yeah.
Right. So I think like the reputation, that's a very nuanced question. If you do field sales and you are out working a specific geographical territory where you show up in person, it is so important. Like
Yeah.
you should be rubbing shoulders with people in the community. You should be looking for networking events. You should be doing all of that kind of stuff. We've also had reps that sell like these graph database solutions. This rep, Matt, shout out Matt, when he was opening up when he was a first time account executive, like building his book of business, he lives in Texas and he was selling on the East Coast. Like he doesn't know anything about any of these places. And one of the towns, I think it was Baltimore or Atlanta, one of those cities, is he just looked within his accounts, like, where are the events where these people might be going to, for these like CIOs and these AI people? And they just like sponsored a networking event. They would go there, they would rub shoulders. He brought his VP of sales with them. So for him, it wasn't like the town necessarily getting known, but in the spaces in the communities.
Yeah.
You have to absolutely do this. Like every great enterprise rep does this extremely well. But yes, your reputation, like doing outbound, like your offer could be inviting people to a dinner that you're organizing, to an event. I mean, like that is the best way to do outbound, when you have something tangible to give.
Yeah, I would agree. Something tangible to give that really adds, that really adds value for them. And then
Yeah.
when you think about building pipeline, and I love this topic because we tend to think about it as salespeople, but the truth is, I really go into organizations and I say, if you're going to succeed today, everybody's got to be in sales. Everybody has to have that mindset. It is so
Yeah.
hard to get a
Yes.
customer these days.
It
But
is.
when you get
Yeah.
one, everybody needs to be looking for one, and B, everybody needs to have the mindset to hold on to one. But are you an advocate of using all the channels, to outbound?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the data will show you that your likelihood of getting in touch with someone is like literally 3 times higher if you use phone plus email plus social, and you leave voicemails.
Wow.
The other component is like, if you can do in-person stuff, I would do that too. So if you sell something that is like retail oriented and you can drop by and like go into a restaurant or a retail location or whatever, like you should be doing that also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, meeting and connecting, really meeting and connecting
Yes.
with people. And I do, and it is just that, I guess it's that old thing, like people tend to, if you leave a voicemail, you send an email, you get invited to an event, they see you on social media. It's just that the more you're in front of people, the more they seem to be comfortable with you, that eventually, if you have the right, offer in front of them, they'll eventually respond.
Yeah, 100%. And then I think like with outbound pipe gen, I think of it like a continuum too. On one side of the continuum is the coldest stuff you could possibly do. Reach out to someone who doesn't know you and doesn't know your company. The very warmest stuff you can do is like working your network and referrals. And there's all of this stuff in between that. So you can use these channels and this outbound, and you can focus on the warmer stuff too. I mean, referrals is something that we've done a tremendous job with in the last like 6-12 months of like building a system around it. We have like a list of 6,500 people that we've identified as like high value folks that have participated in our trainings, and then also participated in a sales cycle with me, whether closed won or closed lost. And then we have a tool that will go through and help us scrape their first degree connections that are ICP fit. So then I can go to them and say, hey, Meridith, I saw you're connected to so-and-so and so-and-so. Like, can I ghostwrite a message for you to send over to them? So like, don't forget to work like your customers and folks like that for referrals. And a lot of this is not rocket science. It's asking and like waiting for emotional peaks to ask.
Yeah.
We just onboarded. They just got a really positive result. We just renewed. Like any of those things, they want to leave a testimonial. Like any of those moments, like you got to ask for a referral.
Definitely, yeah. I used
You
to
got
be a
to.
banker, and we used to say the best time to ask for a referral is right when somebody signed the loan deal, because they're thrilled with it.
Yeah.
They haven't
There's
even made a
like,
payment. Yeah, you just helped them buy a house, you helped them buy a car, you helped them send a kid to
yeah.
college, you did something. It's the best time to to really put that into place. Jason, it's hard to believe, but we are at the end of this podcast, and I always like to end with two questions. You can answer them in either order. How do when you think about uncertainty, when you think about the marketplace, and what this show is about, what my brand is about, I really believe that uncertainty has an upside. It always has an upside, and I always say to salespeople, an uncertain marketplace is the best time to grow your business. And it's the best time to grow your business because your competitors fade away. They're afraid to bother people because people are indecisive. And the second is customers need you more when the marketplace is uncertain, and they need you when times are good. So when you
Yeah.
think about people out there struggling to build pipeline, and I swear everybody's struggling to build pipeline right now, what's your greatest piece of
Yeah.
advice for them? If they're going to walk away from this show and do one thing, what would that be? And the second question, again, you can answer in any order. How do people find out about you? How do they find out about the Outbound Squad? And I got to tell you, if you are struggling with sales at all, even if you're not, even if you just want to take it, even if you're an elite sales team who wants to go next level, you really need to call Jason and his team. They're phenomenal. So go with either one of those in either order.
So the thing that you need to do right now is I would think about that disqualify pillar is the easiest place, the most simple, straightforward place to take action on. Like I would think about who your current clients, who just loves your stuff, renews, all of that kind of stuff. Like how can you invest in those relationships more? Like one of the big things I've made a big point of, and Meredith, you've probably been doing this for a long time. I just didn't spend a lot of time in person with clients
Yeah.
because I don't get our business is not me going and speaking out and doing stuff. It's a lot of virtual engagements with remote teams. So like this year I've spent a lot of time like I'll go spend a week in New York. I spent a week in Dallas. I spent a week in Austin. I spent a week in Chicago last week. I was in London for a week prior to that. Like I want to rub shoulders and meet with my clients in person. And that's how I've been able to get more access to some of the more senior folks too. So like really look at like who are your big clients? Like who do you really want more clients exactly like them? Like make it a point to spend time in person with them. That's where the relationship will accelerate so much. You should be on a texting basis with them. This is people you can ask for referrals to. These are people that you can say, hey, I'm about to reach out to some people and send some of these emails. Like, what do you think of this? Would you respond to this? Like you can get that kind of feedback.
Yeah.
And then I would look at that, your client base there of the people that like just really love your stuff. That is the exact filtering criteria I'm going to use against my book of business for the new clients I'm trying to acquire. But you got to spend an equal amount of time. It depends on what you sell too, but most of you are probably selling something where there are major expansion opportunities within your client base too.
Yeah.
And you've got to be thinking about like, you do outbound into your own client also. There's probably multiple business segments and leaders and all kinds of people that you can meet. So start with your current business and then apply that same criteria to your net new companies that you're looking to get into as well. That would be my immediate action that I would take.
I love that. I love that. All right. How do people find out about you? How do they find out about your training? All the amazing work that you're doing. Even just read the information that you put out there online, which is so incredibly valuable.
Yeah. Thank you. So two things. One of them is free. I spent 6 hours in a professional studio and came out with about 2.5 hours of our best content, like all of our frameworks, methodologies, all of that kind of stuff. It's free. Outboundsquad.com/masterclass. So you can grab that. It's got a cool workbook and all kinds of stuff there. You can see me and my bald head for 2.5 hours straight. So go grab that. And then if you listen to this and you're a sales leader and like, it'd be kind of cool to have them come out and help us with pipe gen, outboundsquad.com. Just go to the website, see if what we have there resonates, and then fill out the contact page. You'll get to meet with me. And really where we're helping is a couple of different places. If you have an organization where you've traditionally relied on inbound and marketing and there's like a major culture shift that needs to get created, that's exactly what we assist with. We will build the playbooks and process. We'll train your reps on it. We'll train your leaders on it, et cetera. And we've done that for some really cool companies like iHeartMedia, Shopify, Zoom, like some cool companies.
Yeah.
And then if you have like a sales development, team, an SDR team that's doing a bunch of outbound and they're not booking enough meetings, like that's another area that we help with quite a bit. So if you need more meetings in pipeline, like I would love to chat with you.
I love this, Jason. I really think you are the master here in the age of uncertainty. I mean, sales has gone through a major shift, and I think the biggest challenge is that people are still doing it the same way they've always done it. And
Yes.
and just in listening to the whole conversation you've had, you've evolved your methodology as the marketplace has changed. And I think everybody needs to go get that master class. And if you've got a team that could use some help, don't be afraid to reach out to Jason. Be real worth your time. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for helping our listeners today. And thank all of you for joining us for another episode of Ask for Change. Remember, together we're going to turn all of this uncertainty into your greatest competitive advantage. We'll see you next week.